Welcome everybody, it's Unstoppable Steletsy here, and I got a very special surprise for everybody today. So, recently, HVNI has shown me some good Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition Deathmatch Discord servers, and they got lots of tournaments there. So many tournaments, in fact, that they actually have a big list of best BO5s and other series recordings on there. So, what I figured I'd do? I'd take some of those recordings and I'd start casting some of those series for you. Right here, we got a best BO5 between Team GatorGottaEat and Knight versus Ezio and N.O.P.E. I'm going to run it right now, and we're going to go through each match in the best BO5, one by one, in this recording. If there's anything you want me to improve on, definitely let me know, but otherwise, I'm going to make this my first ever casted deathmatch series in AoE 2. Should be very fun and very different than what you usually see with me. Right, so here we go. Should load into the game at any moment now. Here we go. Yep, should be loading in right now. Perfect. Alright, so this first one, we got the Cumans and the Goths up against the Saracens and the Burgundians. So this is deathmatch, of course, so you get a gajillion starting resources and you gotta do stuff with them. You gotta build stables, houses, whatever your civ needs to basically get a standing army very quickly, because your opponents are gonna do the same thing. They're gonna try to pressure each other as fast as possible with as much troops as possible. So it's essential you know what to build and when, right? So if you're like Burgundians like these, or the Cumans up there, you're going to build a stable, right? If you're the Goths, you're going to build barracks, because that's what you specialize in, and so forth. So we'll see here how this ends up going in the first game. Looks like Saracens will do camel riders, probably as a defensive method against any potential cavalry incursions from the Cumans. Unfortunately, their neighbor over here is not the Cumans, it's the Goths, so I don't know if it's going to end up being a bit devastating for them, you know what I mean? Because not only do the Goths have halberdiers, but they get super cheap ones that train very quickly. So any camel rider start is surely going to be met with a severe punishment. I guarantee you that. Looks like the Goths start with some Huskarls, which they usually do, but as soon as they see the camel riders, of course they're going to have halberdiers already ready. Yep, I see the halberdiers there right now, actually. So this player might actually already be in trouble right now, with that many halberdiers already starting to pump out. Yeah, I mean, the heavy camels of the Saracens are no paladins by any means, so they'll definitely fall very quickly to the halberdiers very fast, even with the civ's bonuses for the camels too. While that's going on, we do see a push by the Burgundians to throw some paladins into the Cuman's base, and we see some steppe lancers trying to intercept that right now. From the looks of it, Burgundy is pushing on Cumans, whilst the Goths are pushing on the Saracens. Halberdiers doing an excellent job there as predicted. It will force the Saracens to change the champions at the barracks. It's really their best option at this point without any archery ranges on the field right now. I would totally love to see them get some sort of ranged unit to back up these champions, because here's the thing. Basically, champions for Goths are going to be cheaper and more spammable since they train quicker, so it's going to be pretty hard to keep up with them, you know what I mean? You think you've beaten all the champions in your base attacking you, and then there's already another army already ready to push you. It's quite devastating. All the Saracen can do right now is try to spam out a couple hussars with champions, which is a far from ideal situation to find yourself in. Goths are basically going to be able to do a lot of overall damage in this base right now, constantly pumping in halbs and champions to basically meet whatever they're doing. He seems to be doing some Huskarls, it seems like. The Huskarls are particularly good because they have super high pierce armor, so if they want to go underneath this TC at all, they'll be able to siege it down pretty fast, I would say. The cavalry wars continue over here between the steppe lancers and the paladins. Cuman ends up switching to paladins to counteract the ones that the Burgundians are doing. So we see them moving in right now at each other. Should be a pretty interesting battle there, honestly. Alright, now we see the Huskarls trying to intercept the infantry over here. See, this is the problem I was talking about here. Basically, the Goths are going to spam their infantry so fast that Saracens just can't keep up with it no matter what they try to do. Yeah. Well, it seems like over here it's a sort of a back and forth cavalry war between seeing who has the strongest cavalry and who can win each battle, pretty much. Looks like Cumans are actually going to go for a siege push. Looks like they got a workshop here done, another one building right now. All they got to really protect it is these few paladins. No guarantees it'll work, but hey, it's something. You know, if they could get a successful siege push, that would be really devastating, since it would definitely synergize with what their Goth ally is doing right now. Problem is, paladins are in the Cumans base right now, still raiding and causing problems, right? It's pretty normal on these open maps to see a lot of cavalry raids across the board. You know, if you can get a good cavalry raid going, it prevents your opponent from building TCs, houses, you name it, and it gives you a slightly better advantage. Looks like the siege push from the Cumans has completely failed, because there was nothing really there to protect those villagers building it. Total devastating loss. And now the Goths get a little bit more tactical. Not only are they going to spam infantry into the base, but they're going to support them with hand cannoneers. Very smart move, actually. Hand cannoneers, great unit against infantry. They have bonus damage against them. Any sort of champions that Saracens do at this point are completely toast. You know, between the infantry spam and the hand cannons, there's really not much they can do about this. Castle dropping in the base is another great push idea as well. It basically reduces the amount of ground that Saracens have to defend with, and will allow the Goths to not only pump Huskarls into the base pretty quickly, but also trebuchets too, which they can use for long-range siege in the event Saracens do any sort of castle defense, right? Camel Riders trying to flank off to the side here, it looks like. I don't really think these Camel Riders are going to do too much right now, especially with the castle firing on them. Yeah, pretty easy cleanup on aisle 5 there. Burgundians, though, looks like they're trying to push forward a little bit, putting castles up, archery ranges. They're going to go for some sort of pressure with the Hussars, it looks like, almost. Yeah, look at these Hussars here. That can only mean one thing. It means that they're going to go for some sort of raid, probably in the Goth space, from the looks of it. I mean, look at the direction they're going in right now. I mean, Burgundy needs to save the Saracens right now if they want to win this thing. Seriously. But unfortunately, he's running them right underneath the castle, though, so a lot of them are going to get destroyed. But here is the bigger batch of them right now, going into the Goth space. Probably to take out as many villas as possible, maybe take out a house or two. We'll see. At the same time, he's also going for a castle push on the Cumans base, trying to do two things at once. That can always get a big tactic, but we'll see. Look at all the trebs the Goths were able to pump into the Saracens' base, because they actually ended up building a second castle, too, even further into that base where the original town center was. Yeah, I don't see the Saracens coming back from this. I mean, they're basically being pushed all the way to the brink at this point. Too many trebs. You can't defend with your own trebs. All they really have is a couple hand cannons right now. And it's pretty obvious the Goths at this point can clearly get a bunch of those themselves. So, yeah, I don't really see this turn back in the Saracens' favor at all. It's really going to come down to what the Burgundians can do, right? With all this Hussar spam over there, with the push over here potentially. How is this going to go about? We see Paladins, though, from Cumans actually attacking that position, probably to wipe out the Vills there, take out the TC, it looks like. It's going to be a bit of an uphill situation since you do have a castle shooting at you. I'm pretty sure they can pull it off. At least mostly. Yeah. At this point, what can the Burgundians even do to help their ally right now? Do they just go like full gunpowder or what? Remember that the Burgundians get extra attack on their gunpowder units, so maybe going like a full hand cannoneer type thing with some bomb cannons might be enough to get this Goth push out of here. Just a prediction. I mean, at this stage, though, we're so deep into the match. Who knows how much gold these people have? That's a really good thing to think about, really, at this point. Yeah. We see the Goth Trebs looking to push even further north here towards the other Saracen position. But I think they're gonna stop right now just to get rid of these production buildings since they don't want to get attacked in the back at all. Yeah, I don't really see much movement here by Burgundians into the Cuman's base, so it's not looking too good right there if you're team GatorGottaEat right now. At least their base seems to be pretty secured right now, but who knows how long that's going to last. Yeah, that might not last too long. Trying to defend a halberdier push here by Cumans, it looks like. Is there another one coming? Potentially. I see halbs right there as well as some siege. They could get a siege push on there going pretty soon. Oh, this is what I was worried about, because the Saracens have basically been cleaned out pretty fast. You're going to see a push by the Goths now into the Burgundians' base, right from the back side here, where it's not as defensible. Yeah, I don't think Burgundy can actually take on two armies at the same time right now, and not just armies, like full armies of infantry, hand cannons, and siege down here, and whatever sort of siege and infantry thing the Cumans have cooked over there, basically. Also losing your forward position to defending trebs, protected by some halbs and paladins. Strategically, map-wise, they're losing ground very quickly. Castle here will be basically eliminated for free. This castle and this one would be the last ones to defend this area pretty much. Oh yeah, GG. They called it. Good match, you know. GatorGottaEat did try his best there with his team, but the Saracen just sort of belly flopped and cost them everything. Yeah. It happens like that sometimes, you know. It definitely happens like that from time to time. How are the resources this game? So it looks like the Burgundy and Cumans were the most diligent with their eco. So they were sort of even-steven with each other, whilst the Goths just went full push with very little focus on economy. You know, that's sort of the game style that the Goths really like. They like to go in for all sorts of all-in pushes and not even worry about the eco, and it usually works. You know, it doesn't always work. Sometimes you actually do need to focus on your eco in the deathmatch as Goths, but I've seen a lot of times you just run a bunch of Husk Girls, Halbs, and stuff, and the enemy doesn't know what to do, and they just tap out. It's a real thing. It's a real thing, trust me. It's totally a legit situation to run into. Big time. Yeah, so now we're going to be going into Game 2, and we're going to see a very different set of civs here between them. It's loading in right now. Here we are. Okay. So what do we got here? We got Franks on both teams. Ezio's using Franks as well as GatorGottaEat. We also got a Hindustani Knight to team up with Gator, and Ezio has an allied Hun player as N.O.P.E there. So let's see what they end up coming up with this game. So in this particular match, you can expect a lot of cavalry, like a lot of cavalry. This is going to be a cavalry match by all four of them, you know. And I think obvious move by the Hindustani player would be just spam the Imperial camels. You know, since you know the Frank that's attacking you is going to use paladins, and there's a good chance if you get attacked by the Huns, they're going to be either using paladins, Tarkans, or Hussars or something too. You know, when you're going up against two cav civs, the Imperial Camel Rider is just a given. It's the closest thing you're going to get to a paladin on top of a camel, basically. So, yeah. As expected, Franks here are going to do paladins. As expected, Franks here are going to do paladins. Surprise, surprise. And I think they're going to have initially a very rude awakening to these Imperial Camel Riders, right? Yep, it should be a pretty easy win for these things, right? That is, if they can find where the paladins are. Alright, so they turn around, seeing that the paladins are going right for them. Paladins doing a good snipe there on the Vil, pulling down a stable. It's what you want to try to do in deathmatch is snipe Vils as much as possible before they build structures. It just gives you that little bit of speed advantage you need to clinch the win pretty much. Over here it looks like we got Paladin versus Paladin wars pretty much. But now we start to see the heavy cav archers come in from the Huns. It's one of their most signature units after all, since they are extremely discounted by that civ. So basically for Huns, paying for heavy cav archers is very cheap compared to other civs. You know, if you were to do it with like Magyars, Mongols, where you have to pay a little bit of gold, and you know it can add up over time and force you onto trash sooner. But in this case with the Huns, they can afford to stack out a bunch of heavy cav archers and preserve most of their gold doing so. Yeah. Now this is a 200 IQ move by Franks. You know that India's going to play the obvious play with the Imperial Camel Riders, right, to fight your Paladin. So you know what you do? Just get barracks and do halbs. Perfect solution there. Perfect solution. Because now you're punishing the Hindustani player and making them burn through all their gold now. They're going to burn through so much gold for those Imperial Camel Riders, just getting completely cooked by these trash units, the Halberdiers. Only costing food and wood and multipliers against the Cav. So, I mean, now it looks like the Franks are in the favored position at this point. Unless, of course, the Hindustani can come up with something, right? We do see archery ranges, so we're probably going to see hand cannoneers there. The ones of Hindustanis do get extra range, so that would probably be the most obvious sort of logical choice, I think. Considering this, I don't think you would want to go heavy cav archer, considering the Civ does not have party and tactics, but we'll see. Good, put a forward castle there, pretty smart move, honestly. Paladins going in one by one, that's never a good idea. It's going to make it really easy for those heavy cav archers to pick them off, right? And now we see skirms coming out. We do see a trash unit. It's a good idea to generally do like one gold unit and one trash unit together. It's usually going to have the most economic benefit for you. So in this case, Franks are figuring I can build a big army of paladins since I'm the Franks, and that's what I specialize in. And then I can back them up with elite skirms to do some bonus damage to these heavy cav archers, right? Looking here, we see the Imperial Camel Riders trying to do a little bit of raiding here. It looks like I was gonna say torture, but raiding, same thing. But yeah, I mean you're really not gonna get much use of them anymore now that you got help, so you may as well raid with them. What's this? He's still training them. He's still training them. He's still training Imperial Camel Riders, even though he knows his opponent's making spammable trash that counters it. What is he going for with this? You know. At this point, I would get Hussars. If you're going to do any sort of stable units to take advantage of the stables, just get Hussar. You're losing so much gold by doing Imperial Camel Riders, you know? It's just really not a good move. Save the gold for the hand cannons. The hand cannons is what's going to secure you that position there. You know, hand cannons with some Hussars following the one trash unit, one gold unit rule. That's what you want to do. But looking over here, looks like the Huns are just going through the Franks' position, and they're going right towards the Hindustanis. This is really not what the Hindustanis even wanted at this point, because now all the vills trying to deploy buildings and stuff are going to get picked off by the heavy cav archers. Isn't this annoying? Oh yes it is. You got hand cannons getting taken out by the paladins now. You got the Frank on this side attacking with paladins and halbs. They're also starting to set up trebs at this point. TC will probably go down very soon if it hasn't already. Yep, TC is down. Unbelievable. This is a huge, bad situation to be the Hindustanis right now. Up here, though, we see sort of a 1 versus 1. Similar to what the Franks did, the Hun ally is going to get halberdiers now to back up their paladins. Probably, you know, to save a little gold, you know what I mean? You don't necessarily need as much of the paladins now that you know they're going paladin skirm. You can kind of throw some halbs in there and save a little gold and counter the paladins technically a bit better. Definitely still watch out for the skirms, because the skirms also counter halberdiers just as good as they counter the range units, so you have to be careful of that. The only time when the skirms sort of get countered by the halbs, of course, is once they enter the minimum range and they're just sort of figuring out what to throw and where. Yeah, this is a complete washout, though. I mean, again, we're seeing Knight 5-4-6-3-7 getting completely swamped by his attacker, pretty much. Unable to do very much there, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, he's got castle in there now. He's going to be able to get trebs right there, throw an axeman, you name it. It's not going to be good. and that essentially allows the Frank player to attack the other Frank player over here and go right after his gold mine. The only thing probably keeping this GatorGottaEat Frank alive right now. It's literally the only thing keeping him still breathing at this point. Heavy Cav Archers basically doing a good job of picking off these vills before a castle goes up. It's totally going to make the siege a lot faster going in there. TC again wiped. Oh, I'm losing all those vills now. Like, I don't see them coming back from this at all. I mean, the good times are over in this match if your team GatorGottaEat. Big time. Absolutely. Absolutely devastating. And now we see... Yeah, he's getting cooked on both sides here. And now we see a forward Frank castle here as well as the second one. This is going to allow Trebs to actually start legit sieging the castles in the Frank's base over here. And GatorGottaEat is not going to have anything to eat anymore, basically. Yeah, GG. Just called it. GG, well played on that one. Yeah. I think we sort of seen a similar pattern as the last game. Basically, the Knight 5-4-6-3-7 player just doesn't have this spontaneous way of reacting to unit comps attacking his base. You know, he was pretty smart by starting with the elite camel riders, but he should have thought about the halberdier danger, you know. Yeah, he should have known, okay, I see paladins no longer work, so that's obvious. I'm just going to halberdier then. The Imperial camel riders can't deal with them, so yeah. That's why you kind of have to pay attention and, you know, think about what your opponent's doing pretty much, otherwise you might get completely swamped, you know. It does happen that way, so you totally have to make sure you're always reacting to what your opponent does. And sometimes be a proactive too. I mean, if he already had like an archery range or two up at the start, we could have been looking at a much different game there, honestly. But yeah, it is what it is. We're going into game number 3 now, and this should be a very fun one. Definitely like a lot of the civs I see here so far. Yep. So in this one, we got GatorGottaEat as the Bengalis and Knight as the Aztecs. And then on the opposing side, we got Ezio as the Mongols and N.O.P.E as the Byzantines. Alright, so if you're Team GatorGottaEat, you're probably going to go for infantry with the Aztecs, and then the Bengalis are just going to spam out elephants. Pretty obvious. I mean, elite battle elephants is one of the best units to do with Bengalis in this situation. Especially since those elephants take less bonus damage, just making them a very powerful unit indeed. As well as the ability to attack a bit faster as well, I believe, right? If I'm remembering correctly from their castle tech. So, in general, elite battle elephants are going to be a really good thing for you there. So, yep, we see Aztecs going champions, and the Bengalis going to just go with elite battle elephants. This is a perfectly fine setup. Since, as you know, Aztec infantry gets +4 attack, so it's a very powerful thing. Allows them to basically cut through all sorts of stuff, you know what I mean? On the other side, though, we're going to see Byzantines going with the elite, the heavy camels there, because Byzantines actually get a discount on halbs, skirms, and heavy camels. So technically, it's going to be a question of whether the cheaper counters to cavalry the Byzantines have to offer are going to be enough to stop the stronger battle elephants that Bengalis are able to do, right? And obviously, the Aztecs with their increased damage champions are not going to make it any easier, honestly. It's going to be really painful overall, I would say. We do have 2 Mongol castles here trying to defend against the push. Mongols right now, kind of crippled right now, you know? I'm going to say that. There's really not much they can do when you have elephants right underneath your base like that, attacking everything. The only thing the Mongol can do is just pop out some Mangudais, you know, to try to pick off the elephants one by one. Mangudai, you know, they have a really good rate of fire. They shoot very fast. It's really going to be the only thing that he can do against these elephants right now. He seems to be taking out some of them, honestly, but the elephants just keep coming in. And then we are probably going to see more champs coming in, too, from the Aztec. This is going to be devastating, you know. I don't even think they even need siege, honestly. You know why? Because the champions are doing a lot of siege, and the elephants are doing a lot of siege. So maybe they could just stick to these 2 units. Yeah. what we do see, which is pretty interesting, is some hand cannoneers from the Byzantine, probably to do some bonus damage to the champs, and probably do similar to the Mangudai and start one-shotting the elephants as well. So, yeah, it looks like a total push over here, honestly. It's getting pretty insane, actually. Absolutely. Look at all this stuff going on. Castle's still holding up for the Mongols player, allowing them to add in more Mangudai. And we see the elite elephants and champions push even further in, right? We do see a castle coming up here from the Aztec player, though. And we do see that they've built some trebs in some of their further back castles over there, meaning that these castles can finally actually be focused down using the trebs, which will be quite nice. And what else do we see here? We see battle elephants surrounding that castle over there, and they should be able to take it out pretty quickly with the help of the trebs. Basically, yep, Mongol said we did. It's basically over, and N.O.P.E says, yep, they can't stop this. They can't stop this push. The elephants just keep rushing in, and they really don't have the space, the units to just clean. Yeah, no, it's over. It's absolutely over. A good match, honestly, you know. I think compared to the first two games by GatorGottaEat team, they sort of pulled their act together in this one and were able to attack as a cohesive force, pretty much. And I think it all has to do with the map, right? The map was a huge vertical line, which allowed them to sort of move together and actually support each other instead of trying to do their own little thing against their opponent and getting cooked. Yeah, big time. Let's see in this game number 4 if they can keep the streak going, or is it over, right? Remember that this is a best out of 5, so if GatorGottaEat loses this game, it's over. They've lost the series pretty much, but we'll see. We'll see what they can pull off here. So what Civs have we got? We got N.O.P.E as the Bulgarians, Ezio as the Khmers, and then on the other side, we got Knight as the Huns, and GatorGottaEat as the Lithuanians. So, some interesting stuff there. I'm expecting a lot of cavalry from the GatorGottaEat team. On the other side, though, we're probably going to see definitely elephants of some kind from Ezio, and then it's really going to depend for N.O.P.E. I mean, he can go heavy cav archer, he can go with conics, he can go with infantry, siege. He's got a few options, you know. We'll have to find out what he does exactly. Alright, so what are we seeing here? So Lithuanian is going to start with stables, of course. It's one of their best things is cavalry. In particular, if you're Lithuanians in this situation, try to get up a monastery right away and start collecting those relics. It's a really smart idea because, as you know, with the Lithuanians, for the first 5 relics that you sort of get, as long as you're holding on to them, they're going to be bringing you in +1 attack each to your paladins and your lightest. So if you can get like 5 relics right away, these paladins will have like +5 attack on them, and that'll be pretty good. So, I mean, obviously in this sort of a high-pressure situation in Deathmatch, you don't always have time for that sort of thing, but if you can afford it on the side, just do it, you know? I mean, I can see he has a relic over here. This one's pretty far away over there, but yeah, pretty much. Whoops, I accidentally clicked something there, but yeah, relic there and so forth. So let's see if he ends up adding any relics in during the match and see if that helps at all. Alright, Khmers, they're going to go Halb and Battle Elephant. Fine comp, I would say, against a Lithuanian. Halberdier is obviously a good counter to Paladins, and then the elite Battle Elephants for the Khmers are just good, because the Tusk Swords technology is just going to give them more damage, making them even more fierce against his cavalry. Again, following that like 1 trash unit, 1 gold unit rule. You know, the elephants being the gold unit and then the halbs being the trash unit. Right, on this side, we see archery range from the Huns, and they're going with the Lee Cav Archer. Probably so they can respond to different possibilities, right? Because they just don't know what the Bulgs were going to do. In this case, they end up going with their Cavaliers. Bulgarian Nightline basically attacks 33% faster, so forth. So they're not ordinary Cavaliers, right? Normally when your civilly gets Cavaliers, it's sort of like meh. But in the case of the Bulgarians, they can actually be quite good because of their attack speed. Oh, we see siege archers as well for the Bulgarian there. Probably to deal with the mass of the heavy cav archers. The thing is, you kind of have to hope that your opponent isn't paying attention, because if you're fast with your eyes, you can actually get away from the shots that the archers are shooting at you, which unfortunately he's not doing right now. I mean, look at this. He's just sort of sitting there and letting the siege archer just get a full damage on him. That is horrible. That's devastating. He's losing so many units from that. The only reason it's not too devastating is the fact that these Huns and the cav archers are just cheap in general. If he was another civ doing that, like Mongols or any other cav archer civ, yeah, you'd be losing tons of gold doing something that silly. Yep, but it looks like right now the heavy cav archers have a new problem to deal with, which is some of those Khmer battle elephants, which have also joined the fight right now. So he's going to have a bit of trouble trying to take these things out one by one, I think. On the other side, though, we see the battle elephants and the halbs from the Khmers make a move on the Lithuanians' position. Lithuanians quick to put out a forward base. They already got the castle down. They got some barracks there. They got TC coming up to add more villas as needed to collect that gold, as well as make more buildings nearby. A secondary castle as well. Always put your castles on the hill like this, because it'll end up doing more damage that way. Just the way terrain works in Age of Empires 2. We don't have that sort of stuff in AoE 3, but definitely in AoE 2, terrain does matter with elevation. Halberdiers massing up here to deal with the battle elephants. It's really the only thing he can do at this point against these things. Looks like he has some remaining paladins too. What is he going to do with those? Probably go for some sort of a raid, I would bet. Yeah. Let's see if he ends up raiding a lot with those. He runs him right into the battle elephants, which is not the smartest move. Now we see something very different now from the Khmers. We see heavy scorpions. Heavy scorpions are a great tool for the Khmers, particularly because their scorpions actually shoot 2 bolts instead of just 1, making them quite effective, you know. It ends up making the damage that the Scorps do significantly better, honestly. Significantly better. Yeah, Cavaliers for the Bulgarians here trying to defend the position right now against Paladins over there. Right. What are we going to see from the Hun player? Hun's trying to use those Cav Archers to try to help out their ally, it looks like. He's getting routed pretty quickly, though. Getting routed extremely badly because of these Battle Elephants and the Cavaliers. They're just not doing that much. I mean, at this point, if I was Huns, I'd be looking at maybe doing some Halberdiers or whatever, yeah. My question is what did they do about the Scorps, though? What do they do about the Scorps? Because the thing is, once they get enough Scorpions, you're not going to be able to deal with them that well. You know what I mean? Once you get a sizable stack of Scorpions, particularly with the Khmers and other civs like the Romans, cavalry doesn't work anymore because they just box up and they just completely shred huge groups of the cavalry down, and it's no longer efficient. Unless you're going with like supermass hussar or something. The only thing that you can really do once the heavy Scorps start getting in gigantic numbers is lily archers. You know the Huns can't do that because all they get is mangonels, so it's going to be a really uphill fight doing that. So I don't know what the Lithuanians are going to be able to pull off here to deal with the Scorpions. Yeah, I'm more scared about the Scorpions right now than anything, because anytime Lithuanians try to get close to push back, the Scorpions just eliminate them instantly. Especially as they're growing more and more right now. Yeah, see, the Hun player, since they don't have Archer, they're going to try to go Paladin against these Scorps. I think it's going to end badly. I just don't see it ending too well right now. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think it's be quite devastating, actually. But we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening here. Right, so we see Treb taking out that castle there. Very nice. Should be a good siege, right? Yep, see, here we go with the Paladins trying to get the Scorps. Let's see how that goes. as I said, the bolts just overwhelm them and pelt them, and they can't do it. Not to mention the Halbs coming in to save the day too. Oh boy, yeah, you got a big problem now. Wow, Lithuanians literally trying to use bombard cannons to fight the Scorps. That's not going to go anywhere though, since you got the enemy right on top of your workshops now. As soon as the bombard cannons spawn, they're going to be instantly, like, utterly eliminated. So I don't know what there's to do left at this point if you're Lithuanians and Huns right now. You got this mega Scorp spam literally destroying you there. And then you got a mix of cav and infantry on top of your workshop, so you can't even get bombard cannons to try to blast them away. Not to mention the Bulgarian ends up going with some siege rams, which is going to make the siege of those workshops even faster now. Right? Yep. It's going to be quite devastating there. I found it interesting how the Hun player didn't choose to put some of the paladins on the siege rams either. Just went right into the Scorps, right into the paper shredder. Yeah, exactly. The entire line is completely destroyed right now. There's not much they can do. That whole thing on the outside of the tree line is completely destroyed. Like, literally, all that's going to happen now is you need to put some... If you're Chimeras, you just have to put some trebs right here. TC gone, castle gone. Yeah, they got really good positioning right now to just finish the job here right now. Siege Ram's also taken out a castle. Wow, that's really not good. Really pushing the line forward there, honestly. Now they're at the Lithuanians' base, so I don't know what they're going to do exactly, but they're going to have to come up with something now. Because what it's going to turn into is it's going to be the Trebs sieging the buildings, and then the heavy Scorpions being the protector of the Trebs. Right? Yeah, and if the Scorps don't work on their own, then obviously the Halbs will come in to intervene as well. Right, this is pretty devastating, honestly. Looks like the only thing keeping the Huns from our destruction is a line of castles. They got about 4 of them here. 4 castles. I think they were going to try to build a 5th one, but that, of course, got countered by the siege rams. Yep. They're trying to fight off the siege rams with heavy cav archers in mass. In lower numbers, heavy cav archers are really not going to do anything against the rams, right? Since they're only doing like 1 damage because of their high pierce armor. But in numbers, you can theoretically focus fire the siege rams, and I think that's what he's going for here. Main problem is, of course, the Bulgarian player knows to do halberdiers as well to do damage to those cav archers, so he's not just going to let you sit there and focus fire down at siege weapons. He's going to retaliate and force them to retreat and let the rams go in even deeper, honestly. So what we got now? We got heavy Scorps here in a line, trying to shred their way through the villages there. Trebs going to the next position. There's no castles for a while here. I mean, the only ones that you got are the Hun ones over here. The last Lithuanian castle is all the way in the back now, so that gives you a lot of wiggle room to just run in there and push through everything, right? We do see a few battle elephants being put in as well as just another great way to siege stuff. Definitely the Lithuanians are in deep trouble there. Bulgarians going for full siege at this point with infantry, siege archers, and siege rams going in to push, yeah. Good job, though, by the Hun player in taking out the siege archers. You know, we saw before siege archers were a real problem for them, and they weren't really dealing with them too well. This time, it looks like the Hun player was good in focusing down the archers before they really got any significant shots out. So that thumbs up there for the Huns, you know. I know this situation, yeah, it was a GG, but good last attempt. Yeah. That being said, it looks like that's the end of the series, yeah. End of the series. 3-1 win for Team Ezio there. Yeah. Quite good. Quite good, honestly. So, yeah. Interestingly enough, when I got the zip file with all the game recordings, they did have a Swamp Stalkers versus Team Ezio Game 5 here, but it's not a deathmatch. It's just a 4 versus 4 supremacy game, it looks like. So we could totally do that as a separate recording. We don't have to do that one since it's not part of the deathmatch games that we were looking at. So yeah, thank you for coming along and watching this. This was my first time doing this thing. Definitely let me know what you thought about my casting of it, what areas you'd like to see me improve on, so forth and so forth. Anything related to capture age, usage, or anything. I'm signing off now from this one. See you in the next series that I pull from their server.